How's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals. And today, what I have for everyone is my full review of the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus. So maybe you're new to the channel or maybe you're returning, but typically my review process goes like this. I shoot my unboxing and first impressions video, then my review process starts. And then once I feel like I got an understanding and a handle on everything I want to talk about with you guys and gals, then it's full review time. So without further ado, let's get into this full review. And this review will be pretty long, so I will timestamp this whole review and leave y'all timestamps down below in the video description. That being said, let's jump into this. Now, starting off, the first thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall build quality and design. Now, from a build quality standpoint, I have to say Xiaomi has done a great job here. There's no rattling or creaking of any kind. The device feels very solid in my hands. All of the buttons give you a nice reassuring and tactile click and feedback. And so from a build quality standpoint, this device is top notch. Now, from a design standpoint, again, I feel as though Xiaomi has done a great job here. Now what we have is our design concepts of old with a little bit of new school thrown in. So we have our metal and plastic design with a full metal backplate and plastic top and bottom for antenna reception. Then we have a glass front with a big modern ratio display. And I gotta tell you guys, in terms of design and everything that Xiaomi was able to pack into this guy, from the fast charging to the IR blaster to the full battery, the full big battery, and the internals and the overall chipset combination, I feel as though the design is top notch as well. So all in all, from a build quality and design standpoint, I feel as though Xiaomi has done a great job. Now, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is that overall display. So up front, dead center here, we have a 5.99-inch IPS LCD display. In particular, like I said, this is a new school display in the 18:9 aspect ratio, and this is a 1080p resolution display. So in particular, it has a resolution of 2160 by 1080p, and it has a screen density of 403 pixels per inch. Now, putting all the display aspects aside and talking about this display from a day-to-day standpoint, I have to tell you guys and gals, I haven't had any issues. In terms of display and daily performance, whether I'm using this device indoors, where I generally keep it at about 30%, or whether I'm using this device outdoors, where I generally keep it at about 75%, I've had no issues with the display. It gets really bright overall, and it works like a charm. So from a display standpoint, again, I feel as though Xiaomi has done a great job here. So top notch, kudos Xiaomi. Now, moving on, let's dive a little bit deeper into the hardware and the software and go over some of these features and specs. Now, hardware wise, this device comes in two configurations. We have a 3 gig of RAM variant and a 32 gig of onboard storage variant, or we have a 4 gig of RAM variant and a 64 gig of onboard storage variant. This one that I'm showcasing in this video for you guys is the 4 gig of RAM and 64 gigs of onboard storage variant. This one has 4,000 milliamp hour battery and a micro SD card slot, and I'm very happy to report that you can use that micro SD card as adaptable, expandable storage, so you can make your micro SD card internal storage on this device. Other hardware includes, this device is packing a 12 megapixel rear facing camera with LED flash and a really fast fingerprint sensor. In terms of the camera specs, this guy taps out at 4K 30 frames per second video recording, and you can record 720p 120 frames per second slow motion. Okay, and in terms of the fingerprint sensor speed, I'm just going to show you guys real quick. This fingerprint sensor is top notch, so all I have to do is tap on it and it lights right up. So sorry, I wanted to catch y'all by surprise. So all I gotta do is tap, and there we go. It lights right up. Let me do that one more time so y'all can see. Boom, and we in business. So really fast fingerprint sensor here, and really good hardware overall. Talking about some more hardware, we have a 5 megapixel camera up top. We have our receiver grill, we have our light and proximity sensors, and we have our notification LED. In particular, with the notification LED, it is a single color LED, and it only shows a notification color of white. So no multicolor, no red, all we got is white in terms of the notification LED. Then we have that 5.99 inch 1080p display, and then we have on-screen keys and nothing on the bottom. And in particular, with the front-facing camera, it maxes out at a recording resolution of 1080p 30 frames per second. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the hardware. And in particular, with the chipset, we are rocking the Snapdragon 625 octa-core processor and the Adreno 506 GPU. So pretty good stuff here. Now, talking about the software, this is where I have to say Xiaomi has went with the kitchen sink approach. Now we have Xiaomi's custom MIUI skin over top of Android 7.1.2 Nougat. And jumping into the software, you guys can see it is a very customized approach. They do not give you the ability to add an app drawer, and all of your apps are on the screen and it has to be put into folders. That being said, the MIUI skin does offer for a lot of customizability and functionality. So if we jump into the settings here, first thing I want to cover with you guys in terms of features is that the features in this guy include a built-in full-featured theme engine, and they do have access to a wide variety of themes. The downside to that is, however, that you need to sign up for a Xiaomi account, which is easy enough. You just need a email address and you create a password and you're good to go. But out of the box, they do include a few themes here, none of which I liked. So I just downloaded this one from the Play Store, Pure Android P theme. And one of the things I like about the theming engine in particular, as we apply this, and we give it a few seconds to apply, you'll see that not only does it customize your app shortcuts, your app icons, your notification panel, and your quick toggles, but it also changes your buttons to a more stock Android feel. So you can see if I pull down the notification shade, we got a more new Android P style of notifications. And if I jump into the settings, you can see we got a more Android P style layout, and we got more Android P style of buttons and icons. So really good stuff, and I really am a big fan of the theme engine that Xiaomi has decided to load up into this device. Okay, but for the purposes of this video, you guys know I like to run these devices stock, how the manufacturer intended them. So we're just going to put it back to the stock theme. So give that a few seconds, let that load back up, and we'll continue with the full review. But I have to say, that was really nice to see. Now, I was a little bummed out because they did not give you the ability to bring back the app drawer. So no matter how you slice it, unless you want to load up a third-party launcher, you have no app drawer on this device. But let's keep it moving and talk about some more features inside of this device. Now, other than that, you got your standard display features, so you can control your auto brightness, you can control your font size, you can control your reading mode on and off, and they also included the double tap to wake the device feature. So quick double tap on the display wakes the device. Okay, really good stuff there. Now, a bummer is that they did not include a double tap to sleep, but they did find a nice little workaround with that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Okay. Other than that, you got your standard security controls for your lock screen. So you got your fingerprint, you got your custom lock screen notification or text. You can set up a pattern, password, or use your fingerprint to unlock the device, so on and so forth. You can also customize the quick double tap of the volume down button to launch the camera. But me, myself, I have a little bit more of a different way to set that up that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But all that stuff is there. Now, as we keep moving on, as I said, you do have the ability to load up third-party launchers on this guy. And you have the ability to lock certain apps behind passwords or a custom fingerprint to add another layer of security. So, really, really nice privacy controls, really, really nice security controls. Now, moving on, next thing I want to talk about that I find really, really exciting is that if you jump into your full screen display setting, this is where you have the ability to rearrange your on-screen buttons. Now, as you can see, this is not the same on-screen button configuration that it comes on out of the box, and that's because I actually switched it with this setting here. So out of the box, the on-screen keys look like that, with your back on the right and your recents on the left. Now, I'm more of a stock Android person, so the fact that I could switch that to the stock layout with your back on the left and your recents on the right was a really, really big plus for me. Other than that, if you don't like your on-screen keys, Xiaomi has also included a custom gesture for gesture controls. So now, with the gesture controls turned on, you got a bunch of ways to navigate through your device. So swiping from the side in either direction will bring you back. So you can see we swipe on the right, it brings us back. Now you swipe up from the bottom, it brings you home. Swipe up and hold, it brings up your recent apps, so on and so forth. So good stuff in that regard. Now, you do have another custom gesture that works inside of certain apps as to when you swipe from the top, you will trigger a certain action. Now, I wasn't able to get that to work, so it is what it is. But one issue that I have with the on-screen gestures is that it does create a little bit of a bug in the Gmail app where the keyboard becomes non-functional. Like you could be typing away an email and all of a sudden your keyboard will stop working and you tap and it disappears. But you tap again and it shows back up. And you tap again and it disappears. And the only way you can fix this is if you close Gmail and then you kill the app and you reopen the app and then everything works. One workaround that I found for that is that if you disable your on-screen gestures and just work with the buttons, then everything will work as it's intended. So it's a bummer because these gesture controls were quite nice, but I need full functionality out of my device, so I have to stick with the on-screen keys. Other than that, you do have the ability to push certain apps into full screen mode where it hides the buttons, which is really, really good to see. And you can pretty much do that for any app on your device. Okay? Other features include you have what Xiaomi calls a second space on your device. And pretty much what this does is, as the name implies, it gives you a whole nother portion of the device to mess around with. So let's say you carry two devices, one for work and one for personal use. If you pick up this type of device, you only need one device. You have your work side of the device and you have your personal side of the device. And I've already set this up. And you can set this up to work with 2 different Gmail accounts, and you can configure it to work with a fingerprint, pattern, or password, so on and so forth. So right now you guys can see I'm on the personal side of my device, but if I lock the device and I pull up the pattern and I put in my pattern for the second space, you can see it's going to take a second and it's going to launch me into the second space. And this is how the device pretty much comes stock out of the box, and you can tell that it's all stock. And you see if I sign into Google, it wants me to sign in with either the same Google account or a different Google account. So this is really nice, a really good way to separate pictures for personal or business use, or just add a certain level of privacy, or maybe you have little kids and you want to limit what they have access to. It's really nice to have this second space on your device. And let's say I'm done, or maybe I was sharing my device and they gave it back, my friend gave it back. Just tap my fingerprint and it loads back up my personal space. So I really like that second space feature. It adds another level of privacy, and security, which is really nice to see. Alright, as we keep moving on, we also have our dual apps feature here. And again, as the name implies, this gives you the ability to clone pretty much any app on your device. So you can have 2 instances of one app running on your device. So if you have 2 Facebook accounts, 2 Gmail accounts, 2 Play Store accounts, 2 Pandora accounts, Spotify, so on and so forth, no need to sign out and sign back into your different apps. You can just load up the dual apps function, clone the app, and sign in with your second account. And this does work like a charm. And you can see if I pull up my music and radio apps folder, I do have 2 instances of Pandora loaded up on this device, and it works like a charm, and I can switch back and forth between the 2, no problems. So I really do like the dual app feature in this device as well. Now, moving on, we got our app lock feature, which is something I already covered. You can pretty much lock control of an app behind a password or fingerprint. And then, if we click on additional settings, you have the ability, if you choose to, get rid of your on-screen buttons. You can activate a trackball feature, which gives you the same on-screen controls, just also gives you the ability to maximize your display. And you can configure this however you would like. So you can see right now I have it set on a tap gesture, launches us from the side panel. But you can set up a swipe gesture where you swipe out and it just works. Okay? Now I don't really like that too much, so I just leave it off, or I use the gesture controls, or I just use the on-screen keys. For purposes of this review, we're just going to use the on-screen keys. Now, moving on, you also have a bunch of on-screen key gesture controls. So you have the ability to double tap the power button from anywhere on your device to launch into the camera. You can also set a long and short press on your on-screen keys to do specific actions. So you can see right here, I have it set to a long press on the recent apps, takes a screenshot. A long press on the back button turns off the display. Okay? And you can also see, if I show you real quick, if I lock the device and swipe up, a long press from the lock screen launches the flashlight. Just turn that off, keep it moving. So you can do a ton of stuff with your on-screen buttons, and it's really nice to see that. And you still configure a long press to the home to launch Google Now, and it still works with your voice controls as well. So all I have to do is say my Google launch phrase and it will work, which I'm not going to say because it's going to launch every phone I have in my room right now. So, alright. But moving on, you can also configure your buttons to close your current app, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. You can launch directly into split screen. Again, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that, long presses, so on and so forth. So you got a bunch of on-screen button controls, which is really, really nice to see. And overall, I think that pretty much does it for the built-in features and the software on the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus. Now, talking about the software in terms of day-to-day performance, I have to say I've had little to no issues. I've experienced less app slowdown and less app crashes, and I'm accrediting that to the 4 gigs of RAM and the 64 gigs of onboard storage. I think 4 gigs of RAM is the sweet spot for Android devices, whether you have a heavy skin or not. Or, let me scratch that, because this is a heavy skin and it runs very fluidly, but you may also have a Samsung device, which is another heavy skin, and it may not run so fluid. So it really comes down to the manufacturer's software and hardware optimizations and how well everything plays with each other. And I have to say, this hardware and software combination is top notch. So in terms of hardware and software, we're good to go. Up next I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi daily performance on this device. Now, in terms of the Wi-Fi, I have to say that the overall performance is really, really solid. But in terms of overall Wi-Fi capability, we have Wi-Fi 802.11, BGNN, and AC. So what does that mean? That means we have access to our 2.4 gigahertz band and our 5 gigahertz band. So if we have a router that gives us the ability to take advantage of either or both of those bands, we should be good to go and we shouldn't have any issues. And really, as y'all can see here, whether it be on Wi-Fi or on data, as long as you have proper coverage, you shouldn't have any issues on either part of the device, whether it be Wi-Fi or data. But I know you guys and gals want to see a Wi-Fi performance test, so let's stop talking and let's load it up. And this Wi-Fi performance test will also double as our speaker test as well, so y'all will get that full speaker experience. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to scrub through the video so y'all can see how it performs. I'm going to let the video play so you can see how the speakers perform. We're going to max out the volume so y'all can hear how it is at maximum. And here we go. Enjoy, everybody.
Welcome to Deal or No Deal.
Commercial. 1 second. Skip. Okay, here we go. Oops, didn't mean to hit that, my bad. So y'all can see, boom, right there. And let's jump back in. Alright, let's scrub through the video a little bit. So you scrub forward, no problem. Scrub backwards, no problem. So, there you guys and gals have it. a real quick Wi-Fi test, a real quick speaker test. Now, in terms of the overall speaker performance, I have to say Xiaomi has done a great job here. I'm not a big fan of the speaker placement with the bottom firing speaker placement because it's really easy to muffle and or block. But in terms of the overall speaker performance on the whole, it gets very loud and stays very crisp and clear throughout. The only downside to the speaker is that it's lacking a little bit in the bass department. Keep in mind this whole video is based on my opinion, okay? So that pretty much does it for the speaker, and that pretty much does it for the Wi-Fi performance test. Up next now, I just want to go over the LTE and the band supported in this device. And to do that, let's go ahead and launch GSM Arena, and we'll keep it moving. Boop. And I gotta tell you guys, as I said in the unboxing video, this is a GSM unlocked device. So y'all can see right here, in particular, this particular device has two different names. It's known as the Redmi Note 5 or the Redmi 5 Plus. Okay, but regardless of the name, everything about the device is the same. So as I said, this is a GSM unlocked device. So it will work on GSM carriers like T-Mobile and AT&T and any of their MVNOs. So Metro PCS, Cricket, so on and so forth. And it will work on any GSM carrier abroad. But it will not work on Verizon or Sprint or any of their MVNOs. So keep that in mind. And as long as you make sure that your GSM carrier supports these bands overall, or these LTE bands overall, you should be good to go. So in particular with the LTE bands, that's band 1, band 3, band 5, band 7, band 8, band 34, band 38, band 39, band 40, and band 41, and all of your GSM standard bands and HSPA and HSPA plus bands as well. So a little bit of bummer about the LTE and band support, but it is what it is. So it is what it is. Let's keep it moving. I don't know what else to say other than that. Now, moving on. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys and girls now is the overall Bluetooth performance and the Bluetooth supported in this device. Now, in terms of the Bluetooth in this device has Bluetooth 4.2 technology in it. And I say in terms of the daily performance, it performs okay. Now, I did have some issues with Bluetooth connectivity where it connected the first time and then it disconnected, and I really had to toggle on and off the Bluetooth to get it to work correctly, or forget the device and go through the whole pairing process over again before it would work as intended. Other than that, I did notice that it muted out the volume every time I connected up a new device, and I had to go through and reset the volume. But that could just be because I disabled the Bluetooth master control in developer options. So I think that may be what it is. But other than those two issues, I've had no issues with the overall Bluetooth and the overall Bluetooth performance in this device. And you guys can see, I pretty much connected it up to every Bluetooth device that I owned, and it works pretty much without issue. So the Bluetooth on this device is pretty good, if you can look past those little quirks or issues. Now, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is something that is very important to me, and that is the overall GPS performance in this device. So give me a second, let me load that up. Now, in terms of the overall GPS performance, I gotta tell you guys, this device is top notch. Anything that dealt with the GPS module in this device locked on within seconds, and I had no issues. So things like turn-per-turn navigation, geotagging, geocaching, all that good stuff worked without issues. And that's very important to me because I'm a very GPS dependent device user. So one of the things that is key for me to select the device as my daily driver is it has to have a really solid GPS, which I'm very happy to report this device has and delivers in spades. Now, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall call quality and speaker call quality on this device. Now, talking about the call quality through the built-in receiver, I have to say that this device was top-notch, and I didn't have any issues making or taking or receiving phone calls. The callers on the other end said I came through no issues. I was very nice, crisp, clear, and loud, and no problems. So taking receiver calls with this device should be good to go. Now, where I had an issue, but nobody else seemed to notice the problem, is with the speakerphone calls. It was very loud, crisp, and clear, but at least in my opinion, I wanted it to get a little bit louder on the speaker calls. But that might just be me, and you guys may not experience that problem. But all in all, when we talk about the call quality and the speaker call quality, I have to say that this device is top-notch, and I didn't experience any issues. Now, let's talk about the cameras and talk about the camera interface. Now, once again, I want to reiterate, we have a 5 megapixel camera up front, and we got a 12 megapixel camera on the rear. Okay? And talking about the camera interface, I have to say it's very clean and very straightforward, and as such, it's very user-friendly. So launching into the camera, everything is where you would expect it to be. So, we have our HDR controls up top. We got our flash controls right here, so on and so forth. We got our filter controls right here across the bottom, which is really good to see. Okay, we can flip to the front or rear facing camera with this button right here. How you doing, guys? Okay, switch back. Got our shutter controls, and then we can switch to the video controls by tapping this button. Now, what's nice about that is it doesn't automatically start taking video when I switch to this button. So I can switch to the camcorder and still have time to line up my shot and fix the zoom exactly how I would like it, get ready, take a few deep breaths, and then push record. It doesn't automatically start recording and mess up everything that I had previously configured when I push record. Now, I point that out because LG devices do that, and some other devices do that, and I don't like that. So I had to point that out. Now, jumping into the settings for video, you can see we do have the ability to take slow motion videos at 720p, 120 frames per second, and we can do time lapse. Jumping deeper into the settings for video, you can see that this device does max out at 4K video recording at 30 frames per second. And we go all the way down to 480p standard HD, standard definition recording at 30 frames per second. Now, in the interest of speed, I'll have links to all the video samples and all the photo samples down below in the video description. So if y'all want to check that out to learn more about the performance of this device, all those links will be linked down below in the video description. Alright? Now, other than that, we can also control the type of focus that we use. So we have access to tap to focus and continuous autofocus. I'm a big tap to focus fan. We can also control the time-lapse intervals and how many times it changes. So you can see we got a wide variety of controls for the time-lapse controls. Alright. Then we can control what the volume buttons do. So whether or not they take a video, whether or not they take a photo, whether they control the volume for the video, or whether they control the overall zoom. I'm a big fan of having the volume controls control the zoom, so that's how I have it set. Okay? Other than that, we got our anti-banding controls, so on and so forth. Alright, and our pocket mode, which is really, really nice because this stops the device from taking random pictures when it's in your pocket. So I always leave that turned on. Okay? Alright, now, jumping back into the interface and switching back to the photos, you can see we got a bunch of photo modes here, pretty much your stock affair. So we got the panel mode, we got the timer mode, we got the audio mode, which as soon as it senses audio, it will snap a picture. We got the manual mode, which is not really a true manual mode. All you have access to controlling here is your white balance and your ISO. So you can't really control anything else. So to me, I wouldn't really call it a true manual mode, but that's what the manufacturer call it, so I digress. Then we got our straightening mode. So if you know that your photo is going to be off center, turn on the straightening mode, and as soon as you got it lined up the way you'd want and you hold it, you're good to go. So really, really nice that they include that. And then we got our beauty mode here, and then we got our night mode and tint mode, and then we got our scene modes. So we got auto mode, we got portrait mode, landscape, sport, so on and so forth. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that the portrait mode, at least in my opinion, on this device, as the table slides away, excuse me, is not really good. I tested it a bunch of times, and I didn't really like the overall performance with the portrait mode enabled. That being said, I was able to get a nice few portrait mode shots just using, general handheld skills and working with the camera to get the results that I want. So it is possible to take some really nice portrait mode shots. Again, check out the links to Google Plus to see all of my photo samples, and check out my video samples playlist to see all of my video samples as well, and leave me feedback on all of this stuff to let me know how you think this device performed and how good you think the photos and videos are overall. Okay? Now let's keep it moving. So I just wanted to point that out. Now another neat thing is, let's say you've taken a photo, but you know it's not quite share ready. Xiaomi has went ahead and built in one of the most in-depth photo editing softwares in a device. So you can crop it, you can add beauty features to it, saturation, change the mode on it, make it a portrait mode, brighten up the color, darken the color, change it to food, so on and so forth. Or you can, again, crop it, add filters, add stickers, you can doodle on it, you can add text to it, you can adjust the saturation, you can adjust the brightness, so on and so forth. You can add vintage filters. You know, you can pretty much customize to your heart's content, or you can just erase the picture and start all over. So I really like that they included that. Now you guys know I'm not a big fan of heavy editing, whether it be photos or videos, so I just left this bad boy in auto and hope for the best. Okay? So that pretty much goes over the cameras and my camera experience and the camera interface. That being said, I gotta tell you guys, in terms of the overall video with this device, it was really, really good. Regardless of whether I was taking a 4K video, a 720p video, slow motion, what have you, it was really, really good. Where I felt let down by this device was in the photo performance. Now, if I was taking a photo and I had absolutely perfect lighting, it came out really, really good. But if the lighting was off, or my balance was off, or I introduced any type of shake whatsoever into the photo, 9 times out of 10, I ended up with a blurry photo. So this device in particular, when you're taking photos, is really going to take that extra level of patience so you can really get the photo or video that you want. But as long as you take your time with it, you should be good to go. But I was a little bit saddened by the overall photo performance, but it is what it is. Now, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the gaming and then the benchmarks. Now, in the interest of speed, and just because I wanted to test out the screen recording feature in this device, I already made a separate gaming performance video that you guys can feel free to check out. I'll leave the link down below in the video description so y'all can check it out. But in terms of the gaming performance on this device, the Snapdragon 625 and the Adreno 506 GPU pretty much handled any game that I threw at it without issues. Now, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that I did not tweak any gaming settings when I made that video. So whatever the game itself selected as the best performance for the game is what I left it at. The only thing I probably changed was the gaming controls. because I'm not a big fan of the tilt to control your car in Asphalt 8. I'm more of a fan of the tap to steer and the tap to use nitro and things. So that's probably the only thing that I changed in the gaming performance video. But in terms of the overall gaming performance, this device was top notch, and I'm very happy to report I didn't run into any heating issues as well. And I was able to game for hours on end and really enjoy this device with no issues. So gaming was top notch. Man, Xiaomi really checking a bunch of boxes here. Alright, now moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is the overall benchmarks on this device. And pretty much it did a really great job. It performed about where you was expecting it to. It really even outperformed some flagships in certain instances. But let's jump into this. Now, in terms of the N22 benchmark, you guys can see it scored a 71,024, which is pretty good. Now, this is the Disco Mark multitasking benchmark, and pretty much what this benchmark does is it allows me to load up any app I want, and then the Disco Mark app itself will cycle through the app an average set number of times and spit out an average time that that particular device took to get through all those apps, as well as giving you the time that your device took to open individual apps as well. So you know I had to go push it to the limit status with this benchmark. So I loaded up all 21 apps that I use on a daily basis and set this bad boy to cycle through them. It cycled through them an average of 5 times, and this was the average time that it took to get through all those apps. And one thing I want to point out is that the RAM management was pretty good on this device. I found that I ran this benchmark multiple times, and you didn't really get a lot of app refreshes until about on your second run through on this device. So it loaded up once and it reloaded extremely fast the second time, or it was already in memory the second time, my mistake. And then it had to reload particular apps for that third time. And it did it like that, so on and so forth. So once it reloaded, the fourth time it was ready to go. But the fifth time it actually had to reload the app again. So that's really good performance when you think about it. So in terms of the Disco Mark benchmark, you can see it scored an average time of 7.857 seconds, which is really, really good. Some flagships that I've owned score nowhere close to that. So it's really good to see on this type of device. Now, moving on, you can see this is the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited test, and it scored pretty much average with a 13,133. Okay, swiping over, this is the Geekbench 4, and it scored a 828 on the single core and a 3,793 on the multi-core. And you can see this is further verification that this device is running on Android 7.1.2 Nougat. So good stuff there. Now, these last two benchmarks are a little bit of older benchmarks, but I still like to include them because they really tax the device, and then they show you how that your device stacks up to older devices. So this is the Volemo Metal test, and then we have the Volemo multi-core test. So you can see for the Volemo Metal test, the Redmi 5 Plus pretty much scored middle of the pack with a score of 1,594, which is pretty good. And then for the multi-core test, it scored pretty much upper pack with a score that puts it in third place with a score of 2,152. So really good stuff to see. And yeah, that pretty much does it for the benchmark scores. Good stuff indeed. Alright, now the next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall battery life and the overall charge times. Let's start off with the overall charge times. Now before I get into this, I just want to let y'all know one of the ways that I verify if devices support quick charging or turbocharging or what have you is I load up this little app right here. Now this is the Ampere app, and this pretty much measures the charge rates coming off of the charger and being pulled in by your device. And one of the ways you guys can tell if your device supports quick charging is if it scores a 1800 milliamp to 2100 milliamp or better, then your device supports quick charging. Whether or not the manufacturer quotes it on the packaging, on the literature, or what have you, that's one of the ways that you guys can verify if your devices have quick charge, turbocharging, so on and so forth. And so you guys can see that I can indeed verify that the Redmi 5 Plus here does support quick charging or turbocharging, because on minimums it was pulling down 2560 milliamps. At maximum it was pulling down 2680 milliamps, and again this is well over the 18 to 2100 milliamps that it needs to score. Okay, and on average, when we talk about the charge times, I found that with my particular testing, keep in mind I tested this 10% to 100 3 to 5 times, 15% to 100 3 to 5 times, and 20% to 100 3 to 5 times. That's how I came up with this average. And on average, I was getting anywhere from about an hour and a half to reach a full charge to 2.5 hours to reach a full charge. And when you think about that in terms of the overall battery size that's in this device, that's really, really good. So again, in terms of overall charge times, we're looking at anywhere from about an hour and a half to an hour and to 2 hours and a half to reach a full charge. Sorry guys, getting a lot of tongue-tied today. But keep in mind, if you don't charge your devices fully, then you may get faster or slower charge times depending on the charger that you use and when you plug your device onto the charger. So I just wanted to point that out. So overall charge times are pretty good. Now, jumping into the overall battery life. One thing that I want to let you guys know, first off, before I give you a look at my daily stats, is that I am a really heavy user. Anything that you can do on your smart device, I will do on my smart device. So that includes a bunch of multimedia, a bunch of social media, photos, videos, all that good stuff, text messages, emails, phone calls, what have you. So I'm an extremely heavy user, so your guys' results may vary. That being said, here we go. So this was a little bit of a lighter day, and y'all will see what I'm talking about in a minute. And you can see the screen was on about 31% of the time, and I still easily pulled down 9.5 hours, a little bit over. And this was a little bit heavier day, and I was able to pull down about 10 hours to 10.5 hours. And this was a super heavy day, and I was still able to pull down about 11.5 hours before I threw it on the charger. And again, another heavy day, and I was easily again able to pull down 11.5 hours before I needed to throw it on the charger. A lighter day, still got 10 hours of screen on time. Another heavier day, got about 12 hours of screen on time, and this one continues. So heavy, about 12.5 hours. Light, pretty much 10 hours, so on and so forth. So on average, I would have to say I'm easily able to get anywhere from about 9 hours of screen on time to just about 13 hours of screen on time if I really push this device. So with my average style of usage, I'm easily able to get through the day, and I pretty much just have to throw it on the charger at nighttime. Now with moderate to light usage, I'm easily able to get about a day to a day and a half. Good stuff. Now, depending on your style of usage, you may be looking at 2, maybe 3 days of battery life before you have to charge this guy. So that's really, really good. Now, this is where I have to show some of my disappointment, because I was expecting a lot more out of this device, and I have to credit the overall battery life to the combination of software and hardware, which kind of, I feel, took away from the overall battery life on this device. So I was a little bit saddened by the battery life, but it was still pretty good indeed. So that pretty much covers the overall charge times and the overall battery life on this device. And now we've reached the end of the video, and this is where I want to talk about the price and give you guys and gals my thoughts and a recommendation or two. Now, I picked this device up via Amazon, and I picked it up from the Amazon seller Gotham Sales, okay? Just in case y'all want to see if they have any inventory available, and you click over to my link in the description and you see Gotham Sales, I can go ahead and recommend that you use them. It was very smooth and seamless working with them, didn't have any issues. Now, one thing I want to reiterate with you guys is that, again, I am an Amazon Prime user, so on all Amazon Prime eligible products, I get free 2-day shipping, okay? Only thing I have to worry about at checkout is the included taxes. If you're not an Amazon Prime customer, you have to factor in the shipping and handling and the taxes, okay? So, at checkout, after tax, this device ran me about $185, okay? And I gotta say, for that price, if you guys and gals were wondering if I would recommend this, I would have to say yes. As long as you keep in mind that there is a very steep learning curve to this device, so you pretty much have to relearn where everything is, okay? And the other thing I want to point out for you guys before I wrap this up is you need to be mindful of your warranty and your return policies. So, if you have any issues with this device or you don't like it at all, you know your time frame to return the device, exchange the device, or get your refund, okay? So you need to be mindful of Amazon's return policies and warranty. And in particular, Amazon gives you about a 30-day warranty policy. You need to be mindful of your seller's warranty and return policies. Sometimes they will just go by Amazon's, but they may also offer some different return policies or exchange policies not similar to Amazon. So you need to look into that. And last but certainly not least, you need to know your manufacturer's return and warranty policies, okay? Because sometimes you may run into some issues after Amazon's warranty has run out, after the seller's warranty has run out, so you're left dealing with the manufacturer. So you need to know your manufacturer's return policies and warranty policies. Just wanted to point that out. Okay? That being said, that pretty much does it for my full review of the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus. If you guys and gals enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, form, or fashion, please help your boy out and give the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. If you guys and gals want to see more raw, uncut content like this, because you never really know what's going to happen when I push record, please feel free to hit that subscribe button down below and click off the notification bell icon right next to it so you guys and gals get notified when I post new videos. As always, if this video piqued your guys' interest, all links to where you can pick up this device for yourself at some really great prices, as well as links to some affordable cases and a recommended micro SD card or screen protector, all those links can be found down below in the video description. So if your interest is piqued, down below in the video description should be like a one-stop shop for you guys, and you should be good to go. As well as, please remember, all links to the photo samples and video samples will be linked down below in the video description as well. So if you would like to know more, please feel free to check that out. Or if you have a question about something that I did not cover, down below, and I will get back to you as fast as possible. Alright? That being said, this whole video was recorded using the 13 megapixel camera on the Moto E4 Plus at 720p resolution at 30 frames a second with the open camera app and no external microphone hooked up. So please let me know what you think of the overall video quality, the overall audio quality, and the stabilization as well, because this video was recorded using the newer R camera rig. So please let me know all that stuff down below in the comments, and you guys' feedback is very important to me because that's how I grow and get better as a whole. Alright, that being said, if you guys and gals know anyone out there looking for the best performing devices and products at the cheapest possible prices, please share with them my channel, because I'm doing this for everyone, because we all deserve the best. And you guys and gals stay tuned, because I have a versus / comparison video coming up between the Redmi 5 Plus and the Moto G6. So we're going to see who the true budget king is in this price range. So y'all stay tuned for that. And just so y'all know, after I cover that video coverage, I'm probably going to be getting rid of this device, because I gotten several offers to purchase this device. So why not sell it, bring more money in for the channel, and move on to something else. But I'll let you guys know when I let this device go. So if y'all have any questions, or you want to see it stacked up to any device that I own in my catalog, please let me know down below in the comments as well. Okay, I'm out of here for real now, guys. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you guys and gals in the next video. Peace.